My name's Seth Reese. I'm an American patriot, and I'm from a small town in upstate New York. New York is now one of the most toughest states there is to possess any type of firearm. Their most regulated state there is. That flag, that American flag you see right there, that's my grandfather's flag. He fought in World War II. He was an American patriot as well, and he's the man that taught me what it is to be a patriot. That flag you see there, well, that's my flag. That's my generation's flag. I'm bringing you this video today. I'm making this video today and throughout the course of the next couple months. Not because Mr. Alex Jones decided to put out a contest, but because I feel that it's important to document what's going on right now. And I'm very deeply concerned with what is going on right now. I'm going to do my best to try and keep my composure throughout this documentary, but I find it almost impossible to do so anymore due to my anger and my frustration with my government and what my country is becoming. Our forefathers would be absolutely 100% disgraced at what our government has become. Recently, New York passed a law called the New York SAFE Act that regulates purchases of ammunition sales, background checks for ammunition sales. Right now, it's not even in effect, and I can only go and buy 3 boxes of ammunition at a time per day. That's an infringement of my Second Amendment right there. And it also makes all assault weapons banned. You have a year to register them or surrender them. That is an absolute infringement of all of our constitutional rights. How can they tell us that we can legally own and possess something and buy it lawfully, and then take it back? Like, I'm sorry, but there's no freaking takebacks on this. This is ridiculous. Now, sorry, we made a mistake. They're not safe for you to have no more. Just because some freaking lunatic went off and killed a bunch of people, or several lunatics went off and killed a bunch of people. That the only thing that this law is gonna do is stop law-abiding citizens from getting the arms that they need, that it's their right to lawfully own and possess. Criminals are not going to abide by this law at all. It also regulates magazines as well. We can now only have 7 rounds in a magazine in New York. 7 rounds. That is absurd. That is absolutely absurd. If you have a high-capacity magazine, you have to sell it out of state or turn it in. Even if it was a pre-ban, that is outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. They pushed this law through so fast that they didn't even include police officers to be exempt for it. Now, personally, I think if we can't have it, they shouldn't have it. So I'm not really going to bitch about that too much, in all honesty. And thus, those police officers decide that they want to uphold the Constitution and the oath that they took to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Hey, what's up? Checking in on filming here. Just got my bag all packed up to head down to Albany on the 28th tomorrow. I gotta be down there to get on the bus at 5:30 in the morning. It's now I think it's almost 2 o'clock. Yeah, I gotta get up pretty soon. I just got my bag all packed up. Stripped it down. Took all the stuff we're not allowed to have. down there, took it all off. Just got a regular old backpack now. Stripped down. It's not an assault backpack. I'm hoping they don't try to make me register it and confiscate it when I'm down there. You know how they are. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the morning when I get on the bus. What's up? It's about 5:30 in the morning. I'm getting ready to go down, grab some breakfast, and get on the bus. It's February 28th, 2013, the Albany rally for our Second Amendment rights. I got my bag packed with my food, extra clothes, stay warm and stuff. Got my Don't Tread on Me flag, and I'm out of here. So I just got off the bus. I have no idea where the hell I am right now. We're at a rest stop on the way down to Albany to the rally, having a smoke break. I'll check back in when I get back, back down there, or down there in the first place. Just got off the bus. Got my flag. Let's go check this out. Let's make it happen. Today's the day. Albany, we got a Patriot here. He'd like to say something.
Hi, my name's Eric. I'm from Buffalo. The first step towards confiscation is registration. We've got too much of that going on now. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. It's about protecting from a tyrannical government, which we are experiencing the growth of now. Second Amendment has never been more important than it is today.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're quite welcome.
Just got down to the park here in Albany. There's a bunch of people gathering. It's about 2 hours for the official rally. Give you a quick shot here. This is a beautiful sight right here. This is what makes this country great. We the people. We the people. There's the George Washington statue in Albany. Cuomo's gotta go! 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 We the people are speaking! Told you, Cuomo. Expect us. Here we are.
You're probably mentally unstable.
I meant that letter I sent you.
We don't agree with the SAFE Act. Second Amendment is the law of the land. Our rights should not be infringed on in any way, and we're here to support that Second Amendment.
Absolutely nothing else. Nothing else. We want repeal. We want our rights.
Total repeal!
Cuomo's gotta go!
Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go!
Hey, I heard, I'm stealing this from somebody, and I can't remember where I heard it, but we're in this to win it. Remember that. We're in it to win it.
Excuse me.
You know, there's all sorts of groups here. We all have the same goal. We may work toward it in different ways, but we're all joined because we believe in the United States and we believe in the Constitution of the United States.
USA! 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 We the people are speaking!
Hey, how about New York State? New York State. This is a great state. Just a few things we have to change.
Okay, I think the law is really wrong. All these gun control laws are obviously going to affect criminals or less than normal law-abiding people. So you've turned us into criminals because we have magazines and guns that we bought a long time ago that we appreciate and want to continue to own. I think to fix the problem in the schools, we should be arming our teachers anonymously. They should have guns in locked containers, combination locked containers that are only known about by the teacher and a couple administrators. In the event of gunfire is the only time those guns should ever come out. As far as the general problem, we got a gang problem in cities. Rural communities do not have this problem and should not be affected by laws that really are going to do no good.
Thank you very much, sir.
Lexington, Concord.
That's right. Protect the first. But I had a prominent Albany attorney say to me at a public hearing down in the Albany County Chamber when they were trying to pass this bill for ammo registration a couple years ago, and we defeated it. And this Albany attorney got up after a number of people and all of whom spoke very eloquently. And he got up and he lectured the Albany County Council on the meaning of the Second Amendment. And they were sitting there, and you could, you know, they're saying, "Hey, yeah, here we go again," you know. And he got all the way to the end, and he says, "But the real reason for the Second Amendment is to protect people like us from people like you." It's a, you know, it's a civil right as well as a God-given right.
Yeah.
You know, we are probably the most, why am I having a hard time with the word here? You know, we are persecuted more than almost any other group in the United States. You know what? But it doesn't matter, because the media, for the most part, doesn't like us. You know. Now there are some changes. There are some changes. There's a couple of stations in Albany that do a really good job of covering us and doing it fairly, and that's all you can ask for. But you have to insist to your media people in your areas and all of that they cover it fairly. And if they don't, you don't listen to them. Absolutely, citizen journalists. That's exactly right.
Thank you all for coming here. We're all united today for our rights. That's what it's all about. We're all here together for our rights, and we're not going to stop after today. Today is just the beginning. We're going to stay with it. We're going to keep on these legislators, and we're going to get this thing overturned one way or the other.
Just don't give a fuck, 'cause we got nothing to lose, it's hard to prove.
lights down. I think they're scared if they are here. I'll tell you one thing right now, I've never seen so many Patriots in one spot. This is a beautiful thing. It's a great day to be an American. This is ground zero to the resistance right here. No doubt about it. Hear that? That's we the people, Jared. We the people. That is the sound, the roar of we the people. We are not happy.
I do not know if the bill will pass, but I do know we're going to fight, work, and try our best to make it happen. Thank you to all of you for the standing strong in defending our Second Amendment freedoms. God bless you.
Police officer at SUNY Geneseo. He was a lieutenant campus police officer for SUNY Upper Division Utica, and he worked as a private insurance adjuster. Mr. Corum has a poignant story.
He's also a veteran. Didn't catch that. I didn't get the camera on in time.
Powerful message. Thank you.
Tom, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here with all of my friends and my proud gun owners. Recently, I contacted the governor's office, and after exchange, I wrote essentially what follows. I told the governor I wanted to give a short message as to how I felt and a lot of others feel on the recent gun bill. I agreed to call it the SAFE Act if I thought there was any possibility that it would make New York any safer, but I know it won't. Except for the provision for the mental health, if properly implemented, I do agree with stiffer penalties for the illegal straw purchase. I want to give a little history. Because last night we remembered my son, Officer Joseph D. Cord, who was killed in the line of duty 7 years ago last night. He responded to a jewelry store robbery in Hartford outside of Utica. He and another officer arrived just before 2 of the 4 robbers were going to shoot one of them. A petite young lady, about 100 pounds. They ran when the police pulled up. My son was involved in a high-speed chase. My son was involved with a high-speed chase that ended when a crashed car and took off on foot. One headed for the wood line where my son gave chase but was ambushed and shot and killed. I want to add the subsequent work done by the various police agencies was amazing. I can't say enough good things about all of them. But here's the real story. The 4 people involved in the robbery and murder were long-time criminals that collectively had over 100 felony arrests. Over 100. And here they are on the streets for what they do, doing what they do best. In the case of one person who actually shot my son, while only 30 years old at the time of the New Hartford robbery, he already had a prior murder. About 10 years before, he was charged with murder in the first degree in a drive-by shooting in which an innocent 16-year-old girl was killed. Although charged with murder in the first degree, he plea bargained down to assault first degree. served 2.5 years. When the marshals caught up with him, he hit one of them, fortunately in the vest, but he was quickly killed by the police. Using now was probably all illegal weapons. I want to mention briefly when the marshals caught up with him and they killed him, that they found out that the particular gun he was using was used in a homicide in Delaware a few months before to kill an individual that supposedly owed money to one of the four. That charge has never formally been made. One of the perpetrators, after being caught at the scene, had recently been released on bail for a burglary charge. He'd been out of prison for 4 months, but been able to be arrested for burglary, and then, of course, made bail. The court in Philadelphia did not even know he was arrested for robbery, murder in New Hartford until several months later. During the follow-up investigation, it showed he was on parole from Washington State. Of course, they forgot to check in Washington and see that he was also on probation for a series of charges in Hawaii. When the parole officer in Washington was called, her response to investigators was, "We were wondering where he was." 2 years plus later, they were wondering where he was. Guess what he was doing? This is all amazing to me as a former cop. Another point was the fact that 2 of the individuals had robbery warrants out for them for New Jersey at the time of the New Hartford robbery and murder. I've had 2 of the New Jersey officers personally apologize to them for not having them arrested and getting them served and taken into custody. It was not until a month or 2 after the murder that they arrested 2 for the New Jersey murder. Finally, the guns. The person supplied them with the guns made illegal straw purchases. He had no prior record, but only put 14 guns in the hands of various gangbangers. By the way, the last that I heard, 7 of the guns have been recovered at various crime scenes. Under the federal law, criminal record, he may have spent virtually no time in jail. Months. Since we went to PA, he got nearly 4 years after we made numerous advances. What the real problem here is not the number of rounds in a magazine or the gun. I don't blame Glock or Smith & Wesson. It is always the person who pulls the trigger. Right. Yeah! I would hope that the governor and others would get it straight. Punish the people who commit the violent crimes. Punish them. Yeah. That's the problem. Lock them up and don't turn them loose. That will have an impact. Making 1.2 million law-abiding New York citizens criminals because they have 10, 20, or 30 rounds in a magazine is asinine. I'm sorry, Governor, it's asinine. I do put some blame on each and every one of the people who failed, in some cases miserably, to lock up the violent people that have proven their violent nature through their own actions. If we'd enforced the laws already on the books, none of the individuals would have been on the street. So Governor, let's enforce the current laws. I've often wished that any one of my friends who legally licensed concealed weapon holders had been there that night and saw the 2 running with a gun and the police chasing after them. It may well have turned out differently. I have far more faith in them than the overall overworked and underfunded criminal justice system. Governor, the need is for resources for getting the real criminals off the street and locked up, not wasting our resources on keeping track of how many shotgun shells I buy, how many rounds I may have in a magazine, and penalizing the legal gun owners with more illegal.
Thank you. That's a powerful story, but it's the truth.
Look at the mud we're standing in.
It's not the gun owners that are causing the problem in the state. It's the gangbangers, the people who aren't prosecuted. 3 years ago in New York City, 1,900 people were arrested for illegal possession of firearms. 300 were prosecuted in New York City. But anyway, I'm going to have them back to the ideas because we have a couple of friends that have to get in and out. They have a session. I'd like to introduce the one that's been waiting the longest, my friend. If I ride down to Alfred College, when I have to get down there because that's my brother who sent me to school, Senator Patriot.
Are you standing up today? Are we being counted today? Thank you for being here. And as Thomas Jefferson said, the Constitution asserts that the power is in the people. We are feeling the power today because it's in all of you. You know, we take our responsibility to uphold the Constitution very, very seriously. And that's what you're doing by standing up today. And I can't thank you enough for all that you do. Because this is about a profound and fundamental right that makes us unique as Americans. It's our freedom. And we have to stand up for our freedom. You know, Ronald Reagan once said that our freedom is something that doesn't get passed along through our bloodstream to our children. It's something that we have to protect, that we have to fight for, and we have to make sure that it's passed along to our children so that they can do the same. So thank you so much for standing up for us, for our state, for our country. God bless all of you, and most of all, God bless America.
Thank you, Kathy. Very, very good. By the way, Kathy is the first politician that I know of to, you know, they all need money to, you know, to campaign. She's the first politician in New York State that I know of that held a track shoot in order to raise money. Okay, next I'd like to introduce a long-time friend.
I especially want to thank you for exercising your First Amendment rights to protect your Second Amendment rights. It's my honor.
So many
to serve in the New
DPOM
York
flags
State
here, it's
Senate.
not even funny.
And every year, after the term is up, we have to declare in an oath of office, in raising our right hand and saying, we swear to defend the Constitution of the State of New York and the Constitution of the United States of America. You are helping us defend those sacred documents today. And remember that Constitution, our Constitution, was born by the blood of patriots. And it's made stronger throughout our nation's history because of the actions of our veterans. But now, we're seeing those rights eroded by those who are misguided, by those who are searching for ways to end gun violence. And they're telling us we don't need a certain type of firearm.
Excuse me.
They're telling us that we don't need a certain number of bullets. Some are saying, and this galls me the most, that we don't need that gun to kill a deer. Well, let's tell them we do not have a constitutional right to deer hunt. We have a constitutional right to bear arms, and that's what this is all about. And I say to you, those of you who each and every day get up and go to work, at night you volunteer at the local fire department company or the local ambulance corps, to those of you who pay your taxes, those of you who obey the laws, those of you who defend our nation, we are not alone. We will not take this erosion of our rights. Together we will prevail. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mike. Great job. I'd like to bring up Senator John Bonasek from the Hudson Valley. John,
That was Mike
he's been a
Gazzolio.
longtime supporter of ours as well.
First of all, good afternoon. It's funny that they should call this the SAFE Act, isn't it? It's the SAFE Act for criminals, for gangbangers. That's who the SAFE Act is for. What this legislation did was make it the unsafe act for law-abiding citizens
Excuse me.
when they trampled
Thank you.
on our Second Amendment rights. I had intended to speak today. I was one of 18 strong that was upset how this legislation was passed in the middle of the night, without the sunlight, without the public, without anyone having an opportunity to weigh in.
Excuse me.
Only being able
Thanks.
to see this legislation 1 hour before it was before us. And I know when anything like that comes before you, it's always a piece of crap that always should be voted out. I have been a senator for 14 years. I have never seen a crowd this big. You inspire me to fight on. But I would ask one thing of you. If we are going to continue to fight on, you have to promise me that you will be here day after day, not necessarily here, but fighting this issue till we repeal this damn law, which is no good, which is unconstitutional. The other thing that I'm observing that encourages me, when we have rallies here, they're organized, they're political operatives, they have skin in the game, they want to suck up to the administration, they want something, they have personal agendas. None of that is seen today. These are the men and women who don't make the biggest sacrifice, which is the voice of the people, which is democracy, which represents the true values of America. God bless you. God bless this great country.
Thank you. Powerful, powerful messages. I have a young lady here who has to get back to session. She's going to take a minute. This is Assemblywoman Eileen Gunther. There's a real dichotomy going on here. Eileen is one of the few pro-gun Democrats. She always supports it. She's a great lady. Here you go.
Hi, my name is Eileen Gunther. I represent the 100th Assembly District. I want to give a shout out to Sullivan County and to Orange County, all of my friends that came to Albany today. I am a member of the NRA, and I have a legal pistol license. I can carry. I voted no for the SAFE Act. I'm the granddaughter, the daughter, the wife of a wife, and also the aunt of police officers. My father carried a gun each and every day. My father-in-law carried a gun each and every day. We went through background checks. We carried our guns legally. We are legal gun owners in New York State, and we're proud of it. I thank you for coming to Albany today. It means a lot to so many of us. We'll continue the good fight, and I'm glad to see so many women just like me in the crowd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eileen. Now, the next speaker, David Keene, is president of the NRA. That says an awful lot, you know, and it says a lot to his commitment. But let me tell you a little bit about him.
I'm sorry, I can't get any visual on him, but I hope you get audio.
While he was in college, was the national chairman of the Young Americans for Freedom. That was at the University of Wisconsin, a very liberal bastion. So, I mean, did you have a lot of friends? You know, when we were talking about these conservative values. After graduating college, he worked with Richard Nixon's campaign, and he also ran for office, and he was endorsed by the president. He later worked as political assistant to Vice President Spiro Agnew, and then in Congress as executive assistant to Senator James Buckley, another conservative. He was a regional coordinator for Ronald Reagan, national political director for George H.W. Bush, and until his election as NRA president, he was chairman of the American Conservative Unit. His professional accomplishments, besides his professional accomplishments, this is a man that I know and respect. He's got a great sense of humor, and it became obvious a little while ago when I couldn't remember the Reverend's name he sent under his breath to me. That's what notes are for. And there's always a little sarcasm there as well, but you can't doubt the veracity of the man. And I like him. I used to sit next to him at the NRA board meetings before he got elevated to those seats. And I want to introduce to you my friend David Keene, and I know you're going to love what he has to say.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me here. You know, a lot of people won't. It was difficult for me to imagine until a few weeks ago that there were chief executives in this country with less regard for the Constitution and the way that policy is supposed to be adopted than those we have in Washington. But New York has proven once again that it can top Washington in terms of the high-handedness of the people that hold some of its public offices. I'm here today to join you in protesting the fact that your governor was willing to sacrifice the Constitution, your rights as citizens, and the prerogatives of his legislature on the altar of his own ambition and on the ego of Michael Bloomberg of New York City. Because that's what this is all about. A couple of weeks ago, I was meeting with a Democratic governor in the West because a lot of these states are considering different kinds of restrictive gun legislation. And I said, Governor, before we start the meeting, I have to tell you that on my way up here, a number of reporters asked me why I was meeting with you. And he said, what did you tell them? I said, I told him I'm meeting with you because you're not Andrew Cuomo. And that you should take that as a compliment. He looked at me and said, believe me, I do. There are a lot of people in this country who remember Andrew Cuomo. He's like a bad penny who keeps turning up. Remember the fights of the 1990s. Remember the Dianne Feinstein so-called assault weapons ban. What did that all center around? Among the key players in the Clinton administration who went after our Second Amendment rights in the mid-1990s was HUD Secretary Andrew Cuomo, who during that period profanely called the owners of gun companies around the country, including one whose employees and supporters are wearing t-shirts here today, and threatened to destroy their company if they didn't go along with Bill Clinton's position on firearms ownership in this country. We fought them off in the 90s, we'll fight them off now. We've lost battles before. We'll not lose this war. I'm here today because of you and because of the rights that you have under the Constitution of this country, and because of the courage and the willingness you've shown to stand up for those rights. I'll tell you something, this is a country that was not founded by the politically obsessed. The American people, and one of the reasons for our stability as a country is that Americans came here, founded this country, and lived here, not because they wanted to be obsessed with politics, but because they wanted to live free. They wanted to earn a living. They wanted their children to be educated. They wanted to enjoy a free life as free citizens in a free society. But throughout our history, when Americans sense that their rights are threatened, from abroad or domestically, they have always been willing to step up to the plate and fight for those rights against any enemy, foreign or domestic. That's why you're here today, and that's why I'm here with you. You know, down in Washington, they say, well, the NRA is simply a special interest. My answer is, yes, we are. We represent the American people. We fight for the Constitution. We fight for the Bill of Rights. We fight for the rights of free people everywhere. And for those of us who believe in those rights, and who, unlike some of our political leaders, have not only read the Constitution, know that the Second Amendment doesn't apply simply to squirrel hunting, and understand the importance of the Second Amendment and the Bill of Rights to the nature of the country we live in, we all have a special interest in our future and the kind of country we're going to pass on to our children and grandchildren. That's why we're here, that's why I'm here, and that's why you're here. You know, our strength does not come from the fact that we're a, quote, special interest, or that we represent one small group of folks in our society. We at the NRA, we did have 4 million members. Pretty soon we'll have 5 million members, thanks to the folks that are joining this battle. Our strength comes from the fact that the members of the NRA and the broader community of Second Amendment believers in this country is not simply made up of Republicans or conservatives or Democrats or liberals or factory owners. It's made up of all Americans, farmers, union workers, and all of the rest, police officers and veterans. And because of that, and because of the fact that we, as believers in the Second Amendment, are willing to do something most people in this country are not willing to do, which is not just to stand up for our rights, but to support those people who stand with us and work to get rid of those in public office who do not. You know, a few minutes ago, when I was up here, Tom said, well, Dave's going to have to wait a few minutes because we've got a few senators and assembly people who've got to get back to work who need to speak. I was happy to stand aside because here they're allowed to speak. When they get up there with this governor and the leadership that he's imposed upon them, they don't get to speak. They don't get to do what you elected them to do. And we need to change that. We need to change it here, and we need to change it elsewhere. So we're with you. We'll help you defeat the politicians that would deprive you of your rights. We'll help you overcome these statutes in court. We'll do whatever is necessary to make certain that the Second Amendment rights that we have had passed down to us are going to be passed down to future generations. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking, but I want to close with a little bit of a story. Some years ago in Moscow, there was a dinner honoring General Kalashnikov on the occasion of his 85th birthday. General Kalashnikov, as you'll recall, was the tank driver who in his spare time in World War II invented the AK-47. And he's one of the few heroes that Russia has, because they had a 70-year period there where it was hard to find one. So they held a banquet honoring the general, and Mr. Putin got up at the conclusion of the banquet to toast him on the occasion of his 85th birthday. General Kalashnikov held up his glass in Mr. Putin's face, looked him in the eye, and said, Mr. President Putin, my dream is a country like the United States, governed by men and women not afraid of an armed citizenry. Think about it. We live in that country. We've lived in that country since our founding. In the rest of the world, people can only dream of the freedoms that we've enjoyed, and we, in this generation, will not allow those freedoms to be taken from us. Thank you very much.
Great speech. Come on, let's hear it for David. He's my boss, and I gotta say that. No, I don't really. David is truly one of the good guys, and I'm so glad that he was here to talk to you, because we want everybody to see how...
Take those American flags up for a second, take those signs down, and everybody who's a veteran, can you raise your hand? I want American flags up, and I want the hands of the veterans. And I want everybody to be quiet for 1 second. The first thing I want to do is, to our veterans, I want to thank each and every one of you. God bless you and each and every one of you for your service. A round of applause for those vets out there today. And I know you Coast Guard Air Force guys like me are starting to take your hands down. Put those damn hands back up for the veterans. Everybody be quiet for 1 second. Governor Cuomo, and I know you're watching. The only guy that watches his poll numbers more in this state than Governor Cuomo is Chuck Schumer. Governor Cuomo, everybody 1 second. Governor Cuomo, look at the hands that are up today. You're turning World War II vets, Vietnam vets, the folks are returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. You're turning these men and women into criminals. Shame on you! This governor, and I know you're not going to admit it today, and that's okay. You give him hell. But if I took a poll a year and a half ago and those polls were out there, this governor was sportsman, did exceedingly well. For 2 years, this governor focused on jobs and taxes. He told us he was a reincarnated Ronald Reagan. Now he's trying to be the second coming of Joe Biden, and he's doing a damn bad job. This governor is focused on one single factor. When you look at that piece of legislation that was forced through that legislature, there's blame to go around. There's one man who should take full responsibility. There's not a single patriot here. And I can tell you that I have never felt safer in this Capitol than right now. And I know the state police protecting us today would say the exact same thing. There's not a single man or woman here that wouldn't do everything in our power to protect our fellow neighbors. But this governor's focus wasn't saving lives. It was protecting his life, his political life, and the political life of a governor who wants to be president. And now he's his only concern.
No way! No way in hell!
Guys, a lot of you may wish that you were in a place like South Carolina or Texas. I don't know if you check the weather, you're not. You've got to understand, I tried. I have a priest on my staff, so I have a good connection. The sun came out. You got to understand something, and we've got to keep this fight. This is the civil rights fight of our time. You listen to me. You look at what's happening to this country. Piece by piece, legislation by legislation, administration by administration. They're taking our independence and our freedom, not through a foreign government, but through duly elected officials, through our democratic process, elected by some of our neighbors, to use our democratic process to take our freedoms away. Our friends in states like South Carolina and Texas may think that the fight is many generations ahead. It's not. and it has just begun right here. And you have to understand that that piece of legislation that was pushed down, especially when you look towards that assembly that I spent 4 years in. I think prison is better than time in the New York State Assembly. You have members of the New York State Assembly south of 125th Street that quite honestly couldn't tell the front end of a white-tailed deer from the back end of a thoroughbred horse. But they're introducing search and seizure bills every other second to go after all you. Woo! I need you to listen, and I'm going to get out of here because I need you to understand this. You've got to understand that we live in a state where the vast majority of people, especially in the assembly that serve in that legislature, they would rather turn all of you into criminals and go after you than go after the real criminals, because they view the thugs using illegal guns that are killing kids every day. They view them as the victim. They view you as the problem. And that is what you are up against in this state. You are not here to fight for you. You are here to fight for generations ahead throughout this country, for your sons, for your grandchildren, and for this country. Because if we lose this fight, we will have lost this country. We have got to stand together, and you've got to make sure that we work with our neighbors and we wake them up to this reality. I promise you this. This is a tough, disgusting, nasty business, and I don't know how long I'm going to be in politics. But as long as I'm in politics, I will stand shoulder to shoulder with you, and I will fight with you until hell freezes over, and then I'll fight on the ice. Good job.
Give me liberty or give me death!
A little bit of housekeeping here, or I'm not going to be able to go back to my office. Brenda Leader, who works for the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, is under the tent over here, and she has applications for membership to the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and also a box to collect some donations to help defray the cost of the legal foundation, or legal action. You know, if you want, you can. I'm not urging you to do it. I just wanted to let you know that that's there. Without further ado. I have an interesting person for you to talk to here, Assemblyman Kieran Lawler. I think you're going to like what he's going to say. Assemblyman?
Thank you. When I was a kid, this was a free country. And I asked myself, will my children and our children and grandchildren be able to say that? And there are times when I've doubted. And then I looked out today and I saw a sea of thousands upon thousands of veterans and citizens and patriots. And I know that we start turning things around today. Today's the day. A century ago, there was a great war hero and a great New Yorker who became president. And he said, very famously, walk softly, but carry a big stick. Teddy Roosevelt. I want to update that for the 21st century. Walk softly, but carry a big crowd of 10,000 freedom-loving patriots. Yeah! I'm very proud of the fact that I am the only United States Marine in the state legislature. I carried a machine gun in Iraq, Japan, Ukraine, and a few other places around the world. And I learned a thing or two in the Marine Corps that our governor needs to learn. First of all, we have core values: honor, courage, and commitment. Those are the core values of the Marine Corps. And I ask our governor, honor your oath to our Constitution. Have the courage to stand up to the anti-Second Amendment special interests and power brokers. And Governor Cuomo, where is your commitment to the law-abiding gun owners in this state?
He doesn't have any commitment.
Knows the motto of the Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis. Latin for always faithful. And this is my final message for the governor. We're not going away. We're going to remain always faithful to each other, always faithful to our country, always faithful to our Constitution, and always faithful to the Second Amendment. Thank you very much.
Always strong. Comments from an American hero. You know, I'm looking around. I see all these signs. You know, and everybody is suggesting. You know, we need a rallying cry, and I saw it. I think a perfect one on the sign out here.
How about don't tread on me?
And it, well, that one too. But this is we're going to deal first with the SAFE Act, okay? And I don't see the sign, but I really like repeal, no deal. Or no deal, repeal.
Yeah!
That's coming in November. That's coming in November, okay? Well, there's some things. We can talk about that at a later date, but there's a lot of roadblocks to that. Anyway, let's move on. Who do we have coming up? Come up here. We have a very, very pro-gun assemblywoman here, and I'm sorry, Senator. Excuse me. Yes, and she's. I'm sure she's going to tell you exactly how she feels about this as well.
First, I have to start off by just saying, wow. I honestly can't believe how many people are here, how many of you came to have your voices heard. I'm so impressed and want to thank you for coming out and standing with all of us. And thank you for bringing that sign that says, I'm a mom and a grandmother, and here to defend and protect your future and rights. As an avid sportswoman myself, I'm glad to see so many sportsmen and women here, but we all know it's not about sports rights. It's not about what some people may pretend it's about. It's about the Second Amendment, and it's about the Constitution, and it's about what makes me be proud to be an American, and I'm sure all of you. So I just want to say thank you once again, and a little shout out to the 48th Senate District. I know they came all the way from the North Country and all the way from Central New York. Thank you, because my family is one of the families that now would be considered lawbreakers. So I'm here to stand with you, and great to see everyone out. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator Pat Ritchie. Senator Ritchie. Next up, friend of mine, friend of the people from Remington, Senator Jim Seward. Jim.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank all of you for being here. I am very proud to represent the 51st Senatorial District. It starts in Ulster County, Delaware County, Schoharie County, Otsego County, Shenango County, Cortland County, Tompkins, Cayuga, and finally Herkimer County, the home of Remington Arms. And I'm very proud of my A+ rating with the NRA, and I'm proud to be one of the 18 no votes on the governor's gun bill. This is my 27th year as a state senator. I have never seen a crowd like this at the Capitol. Governor Cuomo, you have awakened a sleeping giant, and we're not going away. The silent majority is not going to be quiet anymore. Now look, I, as a father, as a grandfather, I was as horrified as anyone with what went on out there at Sandy Hook at that school, what went on up at Rochester with our first responders being killed. I was horrified. But I understand the sensitivities of gun violence. But I also recognize the reality the reality of gun violence. It's the criminal element. It's the dangerously mentally ill. It is not you, the responsible, law-abiding gun owners of New York State. You are not the problem. And we need to respect that and to stand up for your Second Amendment rights and our rights as Americans. Now, did you see what the reports yesterday? The governor and Shelley Silver, they're talking about an amendment to the gun bill. They want to exempt the Hollywood elite. So they can come to New York, be exempt from this law, and continue to make violent movies with guns that have helped to create the culture of violence that has been part of the problem.
Yes, that's right.
We the people should be exempt.
Let's not exempt the Hollywood elite. Let's exempt law-abiding New Yorkers from this law. So I'm simply here to say, let's do something meaningful about gun violence. Let's get tougher on criminals. Let's deal with the dangerously mentally ill that fall through the cracks. Let's leave the law-abiding gun owners of New York alone. And I want to say one word to my friends here from Remington Arms with all the green shirts. I'm going to stand up for the 1,300 plus good jobs in upstate New York. And we can do that by repealing this act. So thank you all for being here. We're going to continue to rally. We're going to continue to speak out. We're going to continue to vote against bills like this and for repeal. We're going to back up Tom King's court challenge to this bill, and we are not going away, and we are going to register to vote and vote for people who will stand up for your rights. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Thank you for being here. I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with all of you.
Kind of makes me proud to be a New Yorker. Let's see, who have you got coming up next? Come up here.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm State Senator Tom O'Mara from the Southern Tier and Finger Lakes region. We're a proud member of the NRA and SCOPE, and I voted no on the SAFE Act. We have never seen a crowd like this here in Albany. This is the largest crowd I have ever spoken before, and I love it.
That's because we're pissed!
We need more of this. We need more of this across the state. More of it here in Albany to do the hard work that we need to do to repeal the SAFE Act. The SAFE Act was rammed through. I waited in line here longer today to speak than I had the bill on my desk to review to vote on it. That's how fast it was rammed through. It's a terrible, disgusting process. A message of necessity for something like this to infringe upon our constitutional rights is an outrage. You know, the governor talks about taking 10 shots to shoot a deer. And I have some of the finest deer hunting in the state in my district. No self-respecting hunter would ever dream of using 10 shots to shoot a deer. And we all know it's not about deer hunting or hunting anything else. It's about our basic Second Amendment constitutional right. I'm glad you're all here. Let's keep up the hard work and this progress to do away with this unreasonable infringement on our Second Amendment rights, to do away with the unfunded mandate that it places on our county governments, and to do away with it making criminals out of our law enforcement officers because of the hasty way this was rushed through and the problems inherent in the way this law was written. Thank you very much. Keep up the hard work.
Senator, thank you. Thank you. Next guy in line here is a personal friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. Up until a few months ago, he was the assemblyman who represented Remington. Through redistricting, he got put into a little different area, but he's still in Herkimer County, Herkimer and Fulton counties, and he's been an advocate for the Second Amendment rights since I've known him, and that's been about 12 years. We've been traveling around the state for the past couple of weeks with I'm sorry, I'm having a little difficulty. Right, we've been traveling around the state with some town hall meetings explaining the SAFE Act, and just had an unbelievable response from the people of New York, just like this, but on a much smaller scale. I'd like to introduce to you my friend, Assemblyman Mark Butler.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank all of you for turning out here. You know, President Keene was very kind. He said we had to go inside and do our job. Well, I feel our job is to be right here with you folks doing what we're doing here today. This is important, and we thank you for turning out and showing up. We talk about Remington Arms, and thank you guys for all being here. Back home in Herkimer County, where my home and my heart is, when we go out for coffee in the morning, you might talk about the stock market, you might talk about the ball scores from the night before. We talk about how many people are working at Remington Arms. It's a part of our culture, it's a part of our life, it's been there for 2 centuries, and it's worth fighting over. And that's why I want to tell you, yesterday, I got a letter that said that I had become a shill for the powerful and well-financed gun lobby. Now, I know you guys are powerful because I see that here today. Now, the well-financed part I wonder about, would all the millionaires please raise your hand, and somebody from my staff will come over and talk to you. But the point being, in this day and age, we cannot have a meaningful debate about a very important issue. The Second Amendment is very specific. You could read that in a shorter time than they gave us to read the SAFE Act bill when they got it. The language is clear. There is no section that says you have the right to bear arms unless somebody comes up with a better idea. It's just not there. They're reading it wrong. I'm confident Tom is going to win. They're going to win on this lawsuit. We might be in for a couple tough months. And I will tell you, we're going to fight this every way we can legislatively. You know the numbers we face. I've put a bill in that I hope will get some consideration. It would change the definition of what an assault weapon is and allow the guns that Remington makes to be sold legally here in New York. Yeah! I'm pretty confident I won't get a message of necessity to get that bill through. You can almost count on that. I want to thank you all for traveling here. This is so important. You've sent a very clear message, and we're going to work to repeal this act. And you know what happened. You know why it happened. It's despicable the way this was done. And it's despicable that those opponents write me a letter saying I've been somehow insinuating I've been bought off or that I don't have the ability to make a decision, to be able to read the Constitution myself and understand what it says. So that's what we're up against. That's what we're up against here in Albany. We thank you for traveling here and being a part of this, and the fight is just beginning. They think we're going to go away, and we're not. God bless you all. Thanks for coming.
Hey, welcome to the safest place in New York. There's no place you could be safer than this. You know, my friends, we know what went on here. We understand what happened. This bill was passed under cover of darkness in a cowardly move. It was passed through the legislature, the Senate, and the Assembly by a governor who wanted to be president but now never will. And there are now 33 counties in the state of New York that have stood up and opposed this tyranny. Let me hear you. 33 out of 62, and we'll be at 50 before long, I can guarantee that. And for those counties that won't stand up, trust me, the voters are going to speak in the next election. So I have a message for the governor. 32 counties have stood up. Can you hear us now, Governor? Yeah! And this crowd is incredible, and it is filled with liberals and conservatives and Republicans and Democrats. But what it's really filled with is freedom-loving Americans. And we are joining together like never before to stand up against the progressives that seek to destroy our way of life. We will not stand for it, no longer. We are united as one. The eyes of the nation are watching us today. We are ground zero in the fight for gun control. But what we really need is crime control.
Yeah.
We've had enough of our rights being trampled in the middle of the night. And my message to you is simple and clear. Do what you're doing here when you go back to your homes. Stay involved. If you're not registered to vote, get registered. Carry voter registration cards with you in your car and register everybody you know that is like-minded, and let's take this nation back.
Yeah. This is our government. We're going to take it back.
Founding fathers are smiling down on us today for standing up to this. I guarantee it. We must not let them down. Or our children. We would do anything for our children, right? Do this. Do this. Ensure their freedom. Stand strong for them. Make sure that we pass on a country that is better than what we found it. That's what we need to do, people. We know it. Don't let up. If we get quiet, they win. We cannot lose this. History's on our side. The Constitution is on our side.
My son just texted me. He saw us on the national news. I want to. Yes. I'm laughing because somebody said, "Eat your heart out, Fox."
Thank you, Tom. It's wonderful to see this, the group here. I've talked to some representatives, and it's the largest group in 30 years that he has seen. We are really making a statement to our legislators and to the nation.
It's almost 2 o'clock. The rally's definitely not over, but I gotta go back to the bus because I don't want to get left here. I'd occupy this place if I could. Excuse me, officer. How do you feel about the SAFE Act? Excuse me, sir. You know what I'm talking about? How do you feel about the SAFE Act, officer? How do you feel about the SAFE Act?
Start to realize, two by two we expose this world of lies. Be a man, fight for the right to exist. Grab your gun and load the clip, nigga. No, you're not better than me. No, you're not better than we. We the family.
Police are refusing to comment while they're in uniform. I guess that's your decision. But I gotta head back. Sir? I told you, Cuomo, expect this. Should have read the letter I sent you.
The promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Excuse me, would either of you care to say anything about the SAFE Act on camera?
Much larger than expected.
Yeah, it's a great day to be an American. Not for me. Retreat is not an option. So I made it back to the bus, heading out with the rally. I'm tired as hell. I have yet to go to sleep. I walked around all day. I haven't slept in almost 24 hours now. I am tired as hell. I'm probably going to sleep on the way home.
This is Nathan Petty, U.S. Army. ETSing right now, getting out. So I'm only having a good time with people that I love. And about to have a good chat with my buddy Seth.
Now, where'd you just come back from?
I just came back from Camp Casey, Korea. We were about 12 miles from North Korea. Before that, I was at Fort Hood, Texas. Before that, I was deployed to Iraq, and I started off in Texas. That was my first duty station. Then in 09 to 10, we deployed to Al-Assad, Iraq. I deployed with a medical unit, and we went over there. We did our job. And
now, how long were you in Iraq?
I was in Iraq for 1 year.
For a whole year?
Yeah, 1 year.
Now, how often did you get to come back home, see your family?
Came back home probably 9 months after I did my, deployed. I did 9 months, and then I came home on leave for 2 weeks.
And then you went back?
Yep.
And then you came back home, or you went right from there to Korea?
I went from Iraq to Fort Hood, back to Fort Hood, and then from Fort Hood, I deployed to Korea. Well, I can't really call it deployment, but it is, and it isn't.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there. Now coming back after being gone for that long to this New York gun ban and stuff. I know I was talking to you when you were still in Korea, and you were like all excited about coming back home and getting an AR-15, and I kind of had to burst your bubble and disappoint you a little bit. Now, how do you feel about that? This New York SAFE Act?
I mean, it's I can understand the idea, but the thought of it is just outrageous. I mean, how are you gonna take away people that do everything good? They follow the laws. They have a 9 to 5 or whatever you work, and they don't do anything. They have a family, and all they want to do is protect their family or go shoot off a few rounds responsibly with their friends and everything. I mean, it's telling somebody what you can and can't do, but trying to make it seem like you're trying to make them think it's better for them when it's really not. They're trying to make us feel like they know what's best for us. And I can understand why they think that, but it's not the right thing to think. They should let us do with what, like, as long as we're not hurting nobody, I don't see the problem with, as I said, getting a few rounds going and firing off a few shots, or having a shotgun in your house to protect your family. I mean, I know with the assault rifles, I mean, I know it's deadly accurate, but you put a limit on one thing, you put on one thing, then you're gonna start putting limitations on everything. It doesn't ever go from this to this to this. They want to go from this to over here.
Now, Are you aware with this? Because I know you just came back from Korea. You're not even like acclimated yet.
Yeah, no, I'm still getting used to being around people and like people from home and everything.
Now, are you aware that we can only put 7 rounds in a magazine?
Yeah, I heard that back in Korea. I kind of didn't understand. I mean, it kind of makes no sense. I mean, you think the guy that actually slangs drugs or that criminal over there is just gonna listen to like, oh, I have a gun illegally, but I can only have 7 rounds in it.
Right? Yeah, they're not.
What sense does that make?
Yeah, they're not gonna listen to that at all.
No, not at all. And then it's just what happens in an extreme scenario where if something does happen, you only have 7 rounds. They have a full magazine and they probably got ammo on them. What are you gonna do? You have your 7 rounds. You're gonna have to be deadly accurate. And some people's nerves, they can't handle that situation.
Oh, I'd agree. I tell you one thing right now, in a home defense situation or something like that, I do not feel any safer with 7 rounds in my magazine.
Oh, exactly. I mean, and nobody would. I mean, if you're out in a open area with your family and somebody comes and just starts firing, I mean, you're gonna have to make sure you're accurate. I mean, you're gonna have to get practice. You're gonna have to get used to a moving target because most likely they're not gonna be moving. They're gonna be spraying or something. So, I mean, it's just, how can you tell somebody they can only have 7 rounds when they're making something small huge?
Exactly. I agree too. And that also goes against everything our Constitution says. Like, it says shall not be infringed. How is that, how can they misinterpret that?
As I said, they must, in my opinion, they must just think what they're doing is good for, it's like they think they're our parent. Like,
right.
You think, okay, this is only for your good. This is for your good. This is why I'm doing this. But when, like, how can you tell somebody that I'm doing this for you? It's like we had a thing in the military where you it's do as I say, don't do as I do.
Right.
And you can, coming home, I can see a lot of that. As do as I say, don't do as I do, because I know some people that, as they say it, they have like security surrounding them.
With armed security with more than 7 rounds in their magazines.
They have more than 7 rounds in each one of their weapons in case something was to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absurd. It really is.
It's the talk. The talk is cheap. You gotta. You can say something to somebody and then not. And if that you tell them something and then they want it to apply to you, and go, oh, no, that doesn't work. That's not right. You can't tell somebody something and then not expect them to expect that of you.
Right, absolutely. I agree. Now, I know when you joined the service, you had to take an oath to defend from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, if you were put in the position to do so, would you defend the country from a domestic threat?
I mean, I'm gonna do what my country needs to be done. I mean, I'm not gonna go and do anything drastic, but I'm gonna do what my Constitution gives me the right to do.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I understand that.
I mean, that's why I took an oath to support what I had at home, not to have it just go and changing random things because of what one person has done. I mean, in history, you can't just blame one person for. I mean, it's hard. Like, as we were saying earlier, we were talking about how one person can get so many other people in trouble. And it's not fair. Like, I understand. Like, well, in the military, if one person does something, then it affects everyone. I don't get how, as we said earlier, how something in Connecticut then nothing changes there, but when it comes to another state, it changes.
Right, yeah. How are we punished for
something that
didn't even happen in our state?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, I see what you're saying, for sure. I agree, too. Now, say I know this is quite a drastic situation, but say you were ever ordered to fire upon American people that were armed, would you do so, or would you stand down?
I mean, that's.
I know that's a real tough question.
That's a stinger, because I don't think it would ever come down to that. I mean, it may come down to some. I hope it doesn't come down to that, because I can't make that decision right now. That's not for me to. As I said, I just can't make that decision right now, because it's hard to represent one thing and then you mean. This is a difficult question, because I know I would never want to do anything to hurt anybody innocent. That's just something I couldn't have in me. I mean, so like fighting tyranny and everything, I mean, that's a positive, but that's something only me and I don't know if there's a higher power to know at the moment. It's only for me, and there's a higher power for them to know. I can't really say.
We're on the last day of filming. I'd like to thank you for watching, if you still are watching. We're down here at the top secret private range, and we got a special ending I think you're going to like for this movie. Remember, if you're watching this, you are the resistance. Thanks for watching.
I'm just gonna let you fuck with me and not do something about it. You think I'm just gonna turn the other cheek? The punishment's on, push it right back. The punishment's on, push it right back. The punishment's on, push it right back. The punishment's on, push it right back.
Still